Now, my next guest is an incredibly busy guy. He's the co-host of the morning show Fox and Friends. Then he hosts a 3-hour daily radio show on Fox News Talk. Then, when he has some spare time, he's a best-selling author. His 5th book is about, well, see if you recognize this guy, a blunt-talking man who became president of the United States on a promise to represent the common people, limit government, and rein in the bankers. The establishment elite fought him at every turn. They even said he wasn't fit to lead. I'm referring, of course, to Andrew Jackson. This new book, Andrew Jackson and the Miracle of New Orleans, tells the story of the epic battle that brought him to national fame. Would you please welcome its author and my very good friend, Brian Kilmeade.
Thank you, Governor, for having me on.
Brian, you brought a fan club with you.
Now, this is just a small taste of your fan club. Obviously, one of the most likable personalities and politicians in this country right now. You're going to be here for 25 years, I know it.
I hope so, because I am having the time of my life doing
this. I can tell. This is you.
You know, when I was in that setup, I'm sure everybody was thinking that I was talking about another president of the United States. But Andrew Jackson, in so many ways, more than, 100 and something years ago, really embodied the whole idea of populism and sort of saying, we're going to disrupt the government as it is.
Yeah, and there's no doubt about it. I mean, I kind of looked into this. We started working on this 2.5 years ago. And just like with Thomas Jefferson, the Tripoli Pirates, I had no idea we were going to take action in Libya. And again, we went back to Jefferson taking on Tripoli and other countries in the area. With this one, I had no idea that Donald Trump would even run for president, let alone win the presidency. But the similarities are uncanny, one of which was they always felt as though the media did not give them a fair shot. And
really?
and we found newspapers, and they have it at the Hermitage right here. And you open up, and there's notes in the margin of him saying, not true, never happened, call this guy. And that is so much like President Trump. And President Trump knows it. In fact, you know, Governor, because you know him well, he toured the Hermitage, one of the first things he did after winning, because he wanted to channel who Andrew Jackson was and why so many people thought he was unworthy for the job. And at which time, the only reason he got the job is because he went to the people. He didn't stay in the power base in Virginia and Massachusetts and New York. He cared about the rest of the country.
What would have happened if Andrew Jackson had had a Twitter account?
No one would be safe. No one would be safe. And he also was extremely aggressive, but he was extremely supportive and loyal to the people that were loyal to him. He had no interest in the elite. He had a little rivalry with Jefferson, kind of was on Jefferson for not fighting in the Revolutionary War. This guy fought at 13, was a prisoner of war at 14. His brother died in that soon after that camp. His older brother died in the war itself. His mom died. How we found out? The trunk of his mom's belongings arrived at his house. This guy's all alone at 13. He should never have survived. But the country raised him, and he felt loyal to the country. And that's why he was able to put together what they say is a ragtag army and defeat the mightiest infantry in the world at the time that just beat Napoleon. He took him out in 45 minutes, January 8th, 1815. It was a miracle.
You know, it was a miracle. I want to back up just a little bit because I think a lot of people don't get much of a history anymore of America. They're studying things that really are not about our history.
Or taking statues down that would remind them of the history.
But a lot of people think that the war against the Brits basically was over at the Revolutionary War. We are not many years beyond that. We're in another war with Great Britain. This is the one that Andrew Jackson is involved in New Orleans. You said that he defeated them in 45 minutes. How did that happen?
Well, I mean, what led up to this, our nation was on the brink in a way we're never taught in school. I mean, you have a situation where we declare war on a country that never understood they lost the first war against us, and they wanted to get these 13 colonies back. And we declared war on them because they were taking our guys right off our ships because they needed them to fight the French and just to do their dirty work. We thought that was wrong. Not moving out of the territories they were supposed to move out of, we thought that was wrong. And when we decided to take them on when it came to trade, they wouldn't hear of it. So they decide, the House and Senate vote to go to war for James Madison. The problem is we have no standing army, we have no navy, and we're taking on the world's #1 superpower. We're getting crushed. And we had no generals and no leaders. We had one guy who put his hand up and said, I'll fight. And the power base in Virginia and Massachusetts said, don't worry about it. We got this handled. That guy who put his hand up was Major General Andrew Jackson. When they finally burned Washington, terrorized the Atlantic coast, they turned to Jackson. And he was success in Mobile, success in Pensacola. But he knew he had to stop the British from taking the Mississippi. At the mouth was New Orleans. So he met him there. The problem is, he barely had an army. So he took free people of color. He took Cajuns. He took pirates, Tennesseans, these horrible people from Kentucky who were fearless and happened to be able to...
Any Kentucky people here tonight?
Who were fearless and never missed.
They'll never buy your book in
He
Kentucky.
built a small wall, dug a moat, and he stopped the British in their tracks. They were unable to adjust to a major general who was never formally trained, but had great instincts and leadership ability, while suffering from dysentery, 6'1", 140 pounds.
It's just a remarkable story. You subtitled this book, Andrew Jackson and the Miracle of New Orleans. What made this a miracle? Because that kind of invokes that there was something beyond just Jackson going on.
On Fox, we're going to do an hour special. I went to this convent, the Ursuline Nun Convent, which still exists today. When Jackson came into town, the Ursuline nuns were concerned that the British were going to just ransack their place. He says, I'll protect you, just like Jefferson promised when he bought the place. And he said, okay, we'll pray for you. And they prayed every single night, 24 hours a day, and doubled it as a hospital for the wounded. And the next thing you know, while praying, all the women were in the convent. There was a knock at the door. We won. And Jackson was convinced that they won. He won because those nuns prayed. And that every January 8th, 1815, they celebrate that day. And Jackson came back and went right to that convent when he went back to visit to mark and salute those who won the Battle of New Orleans, because he knew there was something special about this country, about this battle, and our destiny, which brought us here. We're not perfect, but we're a country that tries to be perfect, and we correct along the way.
You know, Brian, one of the things I love about the way you write, it's very descriptive, and it engages the reader.
Right,
and that's powerful.
Well, what I do is I gut it because I don't want the people from Harvard and Yale got their books already. They write for each other. I want to write to something I could understand. And I also have a sports background, along with Don Yeager. And we try to do it like it's an unfolding event. And while still trying to stay accurate, Governor, because I feel as though, especially being at Fox, people look to poke holes in the accuracy. I challenge you.
Let me ask you, because we're almost out of time, but I got to ask you this. What is the one big lesson from Andrew Jackson that every American should take home?
Thank you. It is that no matter your circumstances, no matter where you start, you're in charge of where you finish. A 13-year-old orphan can lead us in battle in our time in which our White House and Capitol building were burned to the ground, and not only rise to the challenge, but also become a two-term president of the United States, balance the budget, eliminate the deficit, and give America a sense of pride. And many people like Abraham Lincoln, FDR, Teddy Roosevelt, Harry Truman, and Ronald Reagan said that's the man that they modeled themselves after. He's not perfect. Nobody's perfect. He didn't make all the right decisions, but man, he gets the Hustle Award for success.
Fantastic book, Brian Kilmeade's book. It's called Andrew Jackson and the Miracle of New Orleans. Brian, thank you so much for being my guest tonight and talking about one of the turning points of history. By the way, the book goes on sale October the 24th, but you can pre-order it right now through your favorite bookseller. You can also go to briankilmeade.com